Yep, that's my airplane being carried by a front loader 2 miles to Cary Lake. Flying an airplane on straight floats from Minnesota to Florida is quite the challenge, as there are very few airports that will accommodate me for fuel. My goal for day one is to make it to Rising Sun, Indiana, just 700 miles away, where I can get some fuel. Having only 38 gallons of usable fuel in my wing tanks, I had to pack my float compartments full of gas cans. With 8 5-gallon gas cans, I have 78 gallons usable, which would give me about 8 hours of fuel.
I took off at Hibbing, Minnesota. I had 42 gallons in my wings, another 40 gallons and 5-gallon gas cans in my floats. I can put 4 5-gallon cans in each one of my floats. So I had about 500 pounds of gas. I had about 200 pounds of me, and maybe 50 to 100 pounds of other stuff. And I took off out of a half-mile lake. It was a little close.
With the 25-knot headwind, this original planning wasn't going to work.
I departed out of Hibbing, took off out of that half-mile lake. I started quickly flying south, realized that I had a 25-knot headwind and there was no way I was going to make it. So about an hour and a half into my flight, I landed in 20 to 25 knots of wind on water, some big waves, and I filled up another 15 gallons just so I could make sure I'd make it to my first checkpoint.
First stop only an hour and a half in and already behind schedule.
I departed again, kept heading south, but I was going really slow. I'm talking like 85 miles an hour. I could see cars going faster than me. I landed at my second seaplane base, at least it claimed to be one on 4 flight. When I got there, I realized there was this lake. There was no area for me to dock or to beach or anything. So I taxied around, found some lady taking a picture of me. Figured she was friendly. She pointed out a bar at the end of the lake that has a dock I could dock at. So I docked at the bar, ran in there, got a hot dog, dumped 40 gallons in my wings, I took off again.
The next leg was 2 hours to Cedar Lake, Indiana, where I flew over Lake Michigan to avoid the Chicago airspace. While I was on the lake, I called ahead to Rising Sun Seaplane Base. The headwind delayed me, and I wouldn't get there until after dark.
I dumped the last 15 gallons of gas I had. Then I had to head to Rising Sun, Indiana. That was my next stop where I can actually get gas. There's an awesome place called Max Seaplane Services. A guy named Troy who runs and owns the base. So I flew in there. We got in there just a little bit after dark. I still had, still some twilight, but it was a little sketchy. I was a little afraid I was pushing it too late.
I landed on the Ohio River after sunset and had a crew waiting to pull me out of the water. Now, I would never recommend performing a night landing on floats. However, this specific area was extremely well lit and I had a full moon. In the past, I've actually trained some military pilots on night flying with floats, but still, this wasn't extremely comfortable and not recommended.
After I fueled up at Max Seaplane Services, the next day I had a lot of bad weather down south where I was supposed to fly through. I'm talking 700-foot ceilings, 5-mile viz. Not that bad, but 700-foot ceilings, I'm not trying to do that for 7 hours. I don't want to do that all damn day. It's just not enjoyable. Not good on my blood pressure. So I decided to hang out in Indiana. Troy talked me into flying north to the Indiana Seaplane Pilot Association fly-in. I did a couple of free rides just to give people some free rides on float planes, just to, push seaplanes and the Seaplane Pilot Association. It was awfully cool. I met a lot of good people, met a lot of new friends. It's definitely been a lot of fun flying my seaplane around. You get a lot of attention wherever you go.
The flying was a lot of fun. We had tons of seaplanes, skydivers, wheeled planes, good people, and good food. What else could you ask for? After a fun, busy weekend, it was time to head back to Rising Sun and get on track with my mission of getting back down to Florida.
Now I'm about to drop into the Ohio River. Off to the right we have Indiana, and off to the left we have Kentucky. I'm going to go ahead and get nice and low, fly the river, then I'll come on, put her down. All right, check it out. We got a nice little sand mine to the left of us in Kentucky, and with beautiful hills to the right in Indiana. I've been told by everybody that I've flown in here and met so far how much they just love this little town. And it's a pretty darn cute little town. It's a couple hundred years old, so the buildings are in 1830. Rising Sun, Indiana. Something you wouldn't normally see, but if you are flying floats, if you're really leaving Florida anywhere, going kind of north or kind of west, this is a fantastic fuel stop. It's 6-7 India, November, called Mac Seaplane Services. You'll talk to Troy. He will bring you courtesy fuel. He lent me out a Beamer to use. That was a beautiful courtesy car. He even let me sleep in his hangar. So flying rivers is a lot different than flying lakes. You have to make sure the river's clear of any extra debris. You gotta take a couple extra considerations here. The current is so slow, I don't really have to factor in the current here, so it's not a concern for me. This is what I love about flying floats. The fact that I'm like, I don't know, 50 feet over the water, and this is perfectly acceptable. My favorite thing about float flying. Coming in hot. There's some big wakes on the water. That's gonna be a little exciting. We're gonna get rocked left and right a little bit there. Definitely got a little bit of boat wake there. All right, water's coming down.
Thanks for making it to the end of my video. Be sure to like and subscribe. On the next episode, I'll be getting some maintenance done and flying the rest of the way down to Florida.